a further update on the Ashlee Jenae situation. This is, like I said, all over my timeline, and obviously, you know, it's an update. According to the Hood Report, police confirmed influencer Ashlee Jenae was in a dispute with her fiance before her unaliving in Tanzania. Hotel staff reportedly separated the couple into different rooms. Officials say the situation escalated enough for staff to contact the authorities over concerns for Ashlee's well-being, leading to a report being filed at the Nigwi police station. Ashlee was later found unconscious in her villa and rushed to a nearby hospital where she died the following day. Still no official ruling on cause of death. Death, that word. Yes. So basically, she was in a dispute with her fiance, Cann, before her tragic death in Tanzania earlier this month, and something local police say is part of an active investigation. Now, do we trust this police to get the job done properly? Are they professional enough? Are they professional enough? And again, we know in many cases that the lighter your hue of skin, the better it is, the more chances of you getting off with certain things. Okay? That's the reality in some cases. Okay? Now, the dispute between her and her fiance, what was that dispute about? We need to know what happened between the two, because it seems they were loved up apparently. So what happened in that dispute between the two? Okay, hotel staff separated the two into separate rooms. A key question, and this is a key question. They're in separate rooms. They're obviously staying in separate rooms then. So if they're in separate rooms, then how can he be responsible for her passing away in that manner, in a direct sense? You know, that needs to be looked at. They're in separate rooms. He may have gone back to America. She's in her room. What happens. So although he's an influence on what happened, he directly may not be the one who, because people are saying that he emmed her, you know, that he emmed her. Basically, he's the one that ended her life. So if they're in separate rooms and he's gone, then that's not the case, is it? Okay, but you know, that's speculative. I'm just saying. Okay, so a lot needs to be looked at, and when it says their concerns for Ashlee's well-being, that's kind of triggering, because naturally a man's meant to be the aggressor, she's the female. So when it says concerns over her well-being, they could have an argument, yeah. Let's say they have an argument, yeah, and it's both heated, yeah. Then it may be that they're saying the concerns for her well-being. Was he A, aggressive, B, overly aggressive, or was it a case of they're arguing, but could naturally people take the woman's sides when there's an argument, and if a man's venting, then they're going to obviously look out for her well-being, isn't it? You know, that's how it's slanted sometimes in women's favour. Okay, but let's have the conversation that many of you aren't willing to have. Okay, because before this little news flash came out, there's a few speculative things that I was looking at. Okay, what could it be the cause of this? Okay, now as a community, I think the global diaspora of Nubian community is sometimes a bit, you know, naive, dare I say it, yeah? A bit naive, a bit wet round the ears, yeah? And this, as well as the level of conservatism that we have, you know, we're not liberal as such, can be a bit of does have an influence on our perspective on looking on life and looking at things, okay? Let me explain. In certain couples, especially couples like this, yeah, there's certain ways and kinks and things that normally presumed conservative people maybe introduced to. Okay, a good scenario would always be the situation of Shamika goes to university, dabbling and mixing and experimenting with certain things. You know, next thing you know, she's, you know, playing around with, you know, things like, is it Molly you call it? MDMA? What kind of stuff? That's the whole point I'm making is, I'm not saying that's typically, I'm just saying they go out into the wider world, see different things, and rather than keep it conservative like they did before, yeah, because this is a new age now. They're going to be all experimental, doing different things. They're not obviously thinking about God and they're not thinking about God, the gospel church, and thinking of you when they're dabbling with mass or doing mass things. So there's a lot of things that we need to look at that happened here. You know, was it that maybe they were experimenting with, you know, let's use a word. When they're experimenting with drugs, you know. Checking I've got that right. Maybe they were dabbling and maybe she might have overdosed and maybe he panicked and put her in a situation like that. We don't know. Maybe the Coca-Cola, the old MDMA, you know, there might have been some substances there. Because that's what master likes to do. You know, part of a power thing as well, power play. He's showing you new things and you find it exciting because it's master and you trust him and he's better than the black man. Okay? So, having said that, was it drugs? Did I say it? Was it a sex game? Obviously, you know, might be having little kinks and jinks. Maybe it could be a sex game gone wrong, you know? Could be role play. Could be, you know, massa and, you know, dare I say it, slave role play. Went wrong. See? It's not as easy as it is. It's not as easy as you think it would be. You know, the normal old school way of looking at things is wrong. You know, even the whole point of view of the man is wrong is wrong. The man is always in the wrong is wrong. All that's gone now. Especially the thing where the man is to blame. That's all gone now. Especially in this community now. I mean, look, you've stepped out, you've crossed over. Obviously, not only did you cross over, but you're calling out brothers as well. Fair enough. Do you want to do? But now look how it's ended up for you. Okay, I'm not saying cross over. I'm saying you can't cross over. But I'm saying it seems they always seem to pick the worst of the worst and expect the best. You know, I don't shop in Poundland and expect to walk out with, you know, a Hermes bag, do I? You know, or a Birkin bag, or do I? You know, I don't go to Skoda and expect to roll out in a Bentley, do I? You know, and this goes back to what I was saying about your off-key backward ways. You know, you've proven me right over the decades now. You've proven me right so many times that I don't really bother with you all, to be honest. You know, this is just, you know, me just rolling it out like that, you know. But it is what it is, you know. It is weird. There's a lot of things you need to look at now, you know. You know, a lot of things you need to look at, you know. Maybe it was a case that, obviously, you know, he's happy with her, he wants out. He did what, like I said in the previous video, the Duwani case. Do look at that. For the female, is it Shiraz? The guy Duwani who, can't remember the first names now. But yeah, my man, stunning wife, didn't want that. He wanted a man's bottom instead. So lo and behold, my man was undercover on the DL, went to South Africa. It's assumed he paid someone off. 3 guys paid them off, and they did what they had to do. And now they're in prison. I think one's dead in prison, one's unalived, but in prison, whatever it is. That's how these crazy guys operate. And more time or not, if it's in Africa, they'll get away with it. You know what I mean? But, you know, it is just a little addition to the previous video. And yeah, we'll keep an eye on this one, won't we? All right then, later.